Okay, so I'm Thomas Martin. My office is right back here. I've been an agent here since January of 2019, as well as my wife. Now that we have two boys, she's really pulled away from like being out and about, but she's still kind of involved more so because. Yeah, so when I first started, Chris was the team lead at the time, so he's gonna know my story probably pretty well. He was somewhat involved in it. And actually, Chris was actually my maps coach for a year, almost 2021. I think. Yeah, somewhere there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was back when a lot of stuff was still Zoom, everybody was still in there. I had a home office at the time. Anyway, when I first started in real estate, I came in every day. Chris started giving me a hard time because I would like sit in the tech room, kind of like, what should I be doing? How do I find deals? Kind of that mindset. Every day I would come in. I didn't have a day job. I actually went full real estate from the beginning. So I was in here like every day, like 8:15, 8 o'clock. I would just sit in the tech room and just figure out like who should I be talking to? What should I be doing? There's a lot of stuff that I just didn't know. I would just annoy all the agents in their offices. I would say back then there were a few more people in their offices. There was a lot more people building around here. I was very much trying to embody somebody that is asking a lot of questions, talking to the agents that are on the block. Chuck Jansen was in a lot still back then. Matt Braswell, the lead team was here, the Dyke team was here, Marcos was here. And I started asking a lot of questions. Then I started doing a lot of open houses, which were fine. My first probably 5 or 6 open houses, I just showed up and that was basically it. I don't even think I had an open house signed on like my first 2. I was just getting reps in, that's what I call it. I would introduce myself to people, I didn't get anybody's names, phone numbers, or anything, they left, and I just left. It was ridiculous. I laugh about it so much looking back now. And then I started hearing about for sale by owners and expireds, and the for sale by owners really resonated. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about mostly today. You've been in real estate for quite a while, I think.
Like 2016.
Yeah, I'm longer than I have. And I've seen you around quite a bit too.
Yes.
I don't know if any of you guys have ever pursued for sale by owners. Is that something you've ever tried?
Not seriously, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not probably.
Yeah, well, and I definitely don't do it anymore. I probably stopped doing it in 2022, maybe somewhere in there. But in the beginning, I think for sale by owners, there's probably so you could maybe throw an argument up open houses would contest this, but I think for sale by owners, it's probably one of the best lead gen sources, particularly if you're a new agent. Obviously, it's free. It's always a plus. You're paying for stuff as a new agent. That's a really tough road to start on. But with for sale by owners, the cool thing about it, you can do it from your house. Is I had a for sale by owner system, but the biggest thing that I like about it is you can call them. All you have to do is call them to start. And I know a lot of guys. I was in like a for sale by owner online group. I actually paid $2,500 for the agent.
2,500?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he started up, I think Brandon will rent it.
Is that working?
I'm having a hard time hearing. I'm just
Let's
gonna.
do this.
Oh.
Hang on a second.
There's like
You're fine. You can, I moved it.
well, I'll just
closer.
scoot back
Can
here.
somebody tell us whether they can hear us better now?
Anybody on the?
Okay.
It looks like our thing's happening.
I know.
Yeah.
Molly,
I
can
can
you
hear
hear me?
you now.
Okay.
Yes,
I
can
can.
you- Okay, great. Thank you.
all right, cool. Yeah, so like I said, I was searching a lot. I came across for sale by owners. I was definitely afraid to call them actually. I consider myself an extrovert. I score very high, very extroverted on testing stuff, personality tests and that. But phone calls for things like cold call type stuff, I was never even towards the end of it, I was actually never really comfortable with it. I had to like get ready for it every time. That was not something that I ever really felt really comfortable with, even though I surprised myself. Cold calls, And door knocking, I can't do. Well, I just can't do it. But cold call was kind of the second one, but I kind of got over it. Anyway, when you call a for sale by owner, they answer the phone. And that's why I think it's one of the best lead gen sources, is because they're going to talk with you. Now, some people might argue they like expireds or whatever other source there is, but expireds, in my experience, they're probably fine too, but they're a lot harder to get on the phone and have a conversation with them. And they've already been under contract before. And usually, at least the one I was calling expireds, they were not as receptive to like listing their house. And even if you had a script, it was hard to get through the script because they would just hang up so quickly. The minute they found out you were an agent, they were just kind of irritated with the process, depending on how long of a delay until you had called them after they expired. But usually, if you got them on the phone, you had about 20 seconds and they were hanging up. A for sale by owner. Now, this gets tricky though. If you call a for sale by owner when he's 20 days on the market or 30 days on the market, it's going to be a much different phone call. He's going to be like that expired, where he's not going to be as receptive to an agent cold calling him. But if you call, what I would do is I would come in every day and I would call all the for sale by owners that came on that night. So if I called like 8 a.m., I was one of the first agents to talk with them. And so they hadn't had that door beat down experience yet. And a lot of them, they were very excited to even talk with somebody calling about their house because they spent the last week making a perfect Zillow description and going through every word, and they took pictures. They probably even potentially took the day off of work for this first day on the market because they're just really excited to sell their house. They're going to do it themselves. They're excited about this process. And then you call them at 8 a.m. and they're very receptive to that phone call. There might be some still buried in there that are, oh, you're an agent? Oh, I thought you were not. You were somebody wanting to buy the house. You might get some of that still. But nonetheless, they're interested in talking with you about selling their house, which is great. Like I said, if you're newer in the business or wanting to gain experience and you're sitting around wondering, well, I, number one, have a lot of time to lead gen, and I'm trying to figure out what can I do to get more experience lead genning. If those two are areas that you need checked off, I think for sale by owner checks that list. But when you call them, like I said, they're going to talk with you. And then I have my script right here. I'll just go through it really quickly. The gist of it. I just introduce myself. I would say I was a local realtor. I'd say I'm calling about the house listed for sale. Is it still available, or have you accepted an offer? And they would say, we just put it on last night. And they're excited. I said, great, you're selling it yourself as a for sale by owner, correct? And they would say yes. And then I would say, great, are you interested in working with an agent if they brought you a qualified buyer? There's multiple ways you can go the for sale by owner route. A lot of people like to kind of dangle the buyer thing. I never did that. If they asked me if I had a buyer, I'd tell them no. And then I would say, how long are you going to, why I would ask if you're interested in working with an agent is because I actually, part of these calls, part of the reason for my calls, I was never calling to get a listing. And I would even tell them over the phone, like as they would talk about, oh, we're selling it ourselves, I'd say, great, it's a great market. You're going to have no problem with that. It's going to sell fast. I was very supportive of them. And all of this is going into your building rapport, which gets to my first point of the for sale by owner process, which is what is the reason for the phone call? And you have to really understand this is the reason for the phone call is not to get the listing. The reason for the phone call is to get in front of them. Okay. When I called them, I did not care what they said. I just agreed. They'd be like,
Say that again.
What's that?
Reason.
The reason for the phone call?
Yes.
It was to get an appointment.
Get an appointment.
All I cared about was I wanted to be standing in their kitchen face to face with them. That was why I was calling them. So you have to think about like the mindset of the person you're calling. And this gets back to, we all have different theories, and I've done variations of this class or discussion multiple times. This could be a whole discussion in itself of like for sale by owners, the idea of for sale by owners selling their house by themselves, right? As agents, this is like a contested thing.
Could we wait a second though? Because I really want to dig on something you said there.
Okay.
Have you ever listed a house over the phone?
I'm sure, but it's probably rare.
Okay, I've done it dozens and dozens and dozens of times because everybody lives so far away. But you can't do that until you have a relationship.
Yeah.
And what you were saying, a lot of times I hear new agents especially, they want to sell their services over the phone, but really all you're trying to do is sell the appointment.
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing here. So, all right, I'm trying to not get off that. This really kind of jazzes me up. I have a lot of different directions I like to go with it because I'm very passionate about it. And I think this is something that is a really big deal to some people if they can get their head wrapped around it, if you do it the right way. I think most people pursue this the wrong way, which was the tangent I was going on a little bit earlier, that most agents have a disgust, they're upset that anybody out there would even think it is a rational thought to try and sell your home by yourself. And I'm gonna say, if you're going to pursue for sale by owners, you have to get that out of your head. If that's how you feel about it, that's fine. But you need to not have that energy when you're talking with them, because you're not that what good does that do? If you're showing up to beat them over the head with I need to sell this house for you, that you're really gonna push them away, right? You're trying to bring them in. You need to think. Yeah, you're showing up to a job interview. Okay. So if you show up to a job interview and you're telling the boss, the person who's going to make the decision on if they even meet with you again, let alone give you a job, you can't start it off being abrasive and doing anything that's going to just all you care about is growing a relationship. And if you're talking about a phone call that we're making that we're 10 seconds into, they've pretty much only said hello to you. Yes, my house is for sale. And you're beating down the door, kind of telling them they're stupid or they can't handle it or whatever. That's like a dead end road. They're going to hang up on you. Probably they're going to save your number and not answer it again. And your odds are plummeting that you're even going to get in front of them, which is the whole point of this. So we need to break that barrier down and just accept that. Is it the craziest thing in the world that someone woke up one day and they said, hey, I want to sell my house. I'm a high D for into the disc profile, which is the majority of what the for sale by owner is. So they think they can do it themselves. Some of them do. I don't know, whatever. All I know is that these are a red dot on Zillow that just popped up last night, and I'm calling them because they're not represented by an agent. Okay. So that's kind of my soapbox around that or whatever. But the reason for the call, to get back to that, I think that was important to kind of say. It was a side tangent, but it's important. The reason for the call is to have good rapport with them, and that this stranger on the phone, and you are a stranger to them, is going to accept in a 3-5 minute call that you're an appropriate person for them to invite over to their house and have a further discussion with, right? You just if you think about it like that, all you have to do, if you think of my script here, and I'm doing two things. I'm somewhat qualifying them on if this is a person I want to pursue, because I'll get to the few of the points. But the same thing's happening for them, right? You need to accept that it's day one. Like I was saying, they're so excited. They just put this house on the market. They were up all night talking to their friends, their wife, whatever, making the perfect Zillow description and how amazing their house is. They're very, very excited about, and then you're showing up and crashing their party. So you need to be excited for them, and it's going to do you so much good down the road. So you're calling them, and like I said, one of my first questions is, are you interested in working with an agent if they brought a qualified buyer? I'm not. This might sound like I'm taking that I'm bringing a buyer for you route. I'm not. What I'm saying, why I asked that, and this was part of the training course that I went through, right? This wasn't stuff that I made up, by the way. This was I got all this from other people. But why I'm asking if they're interested in working with someone that has qualified buyers is I'm gauging how interested they are or open to working with agents. It's like a subconscious comment, because when they hear that, they're just hearing real estate agent and working with a real estate agent. They're going to come back very quickly and they're going to say a number of things. Majority of them, at least when I called a couple of years back, I don't know how the commission environment's changing any of this now, probably not that much. But when I would call, they would answer back yeah, we're very interested in paying the 3% buyer agent commission. That was probably 8 out of 10 of them would say that. They just wanted to not have a listing agent, which is fine. But I'm gauging how interested they are in working with agents. So that would be a good answer. That's kind of the answer that I would want to hear from them.
Because why would they want a listing agent? They're one day on the market, right? I'm not trying to win this right now. So I'm like, okay, well, or they might say, yeah, I don't know, we'll pay 1%. Some of them might have some weird thing like, oh, we'll pay 1%, or we're not interested in working with agents at all. I'm like, okay, this is probably someone that's going to be more difficult to deal with, right? I'm like scoring them on the side of like, I'm ranking them of like, as the weeks go on, how much effort do I want to keep putting into chasing this person? Or do I even want to waste time as this afternoon going to his house? My next question, regardless of what he said, was, how long are you going to sell it on your own before you entertain other options? Meaning, how long are you going to do this until you actually go like on the market with an agent, right? I'm qualifying this person. And a lot of them will say something like, we're going to give it 30 days and then we're going to probably, if we haven't sold it in 30 days, then we're probably going to get a real estate agent, right? Once again, this is a really, really good answer. That's the type of answer that I would expect. And that's kind of the standard process, you know? So this means as this is going on, he's saying things that I'm perceiving as a reasonable person, right? He's not like a crazy asshole type guy. Like at this point in the call, I'm going to know whether he's an a-hole or not, right? And a lot of times I would hang up on them sometimes. Like, no, there's enough for sale by owners out here. This is not one of the ones I need to continue calling. And those guys would quickly highlight themselves because very early in the on, I'd say, hey, is your house for sale still, or have you guys accepted an offer? You go, well, it's only been on the market for one day. He's going to be very snarky. Hey, are you interested in working with agents if you bring a qualified buyer? Well, that's pretty much how it works, right? If he's kind of like that mentality, I'm just like, okay, well, good luck. And then I'll move on. All right. So I'd ask, how long are you going to sell it on your own before you entertain other options? That's probably one of my best questions. And then I have this one last question, if it's gotten this far, is, hey, for whatever reason, so-and-so, you can't sell it on your own. Do you have an agent you feel obligated to work with, that you feel obligated to work with? I'm trying to figure out, do you have a mom, a sister, a best friend that, hey, if you're going to go with an agent, you're going to use them. It doesn't matter how awesome I am. Your mom's an agent and you're just going to use them, period. Or even like their wife or something, right? Which, I mean, that's out there. So yeah, hey, for whatever reason, so-and-so, you can't sell it on your own. Do you have an agent you feel obligated to work with, or would you be open to interviewing other agents? Once again, I'm qualifying them. I'm trying to figure out, right, at 8:00 in the morning every day for like 30 minutes on like, is this someone I want to add to my lead gen prospect list? And this is a great question because it helps you weed that out. It's great to know in the first call if this dude's wife is an agent and they're going to just do it themselves, like if it gets that far or whatever. And so like what I want to hear here is, nope, we don't have it. We don't know anybody that's an agent or something. Like, I'm like, perfect. Like this guy is checking all the boxes. And then I would just say, great, I'm out looking at houses today. Would I be able to stop by this afternoon? I would love to see your house. And he's going to say, absolutely. I'm here all day or something. Right. And that happened. I would say out of 10 for sale by owner calls, 9 would answer and 7 would go like I just explained. They're excited. They want to talk to people. They want to sell their house, and I would show up.
Can we use that as a resource? Can we make copies of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who would like a copy?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So the thing to think here is like, yeah.
Oh.
No, it's not like this is a whole bunch of scripts. And I have actually several other FSBO scripts that as you get like more advanced into it, you would go strictly to like what's called a backup program, where like this script changes into, I want to be your backup plan for, I realize you're trying to sell it on your own. It's kind of embodying that again. You're supporting them, you're cheering for them. But hey, in the event you don't, I just want you to start thinking of me as your backup plan. And hey, throughout this process, I want you to just consider me a resource, right? I want you to just reach out, let me know if you need anything. You could play the whole open house game, or you could do open houses for them, right? You're being a value add to them. This is a potential listing, this is a personal. So, yeah.
I offer that to all the FSBOs I talk to.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you call FSBOs?
I used to,
Yeah.
yeah, that was like my jam, is calling FSBOs. And I always went the route of, honestly, like I'm a new agent and I'm just trying to learn what's out there right now. Like
Yeah.
any kind of insight you can give me,
Mhm.
I'd appreciate. And they'd always be like, oh yeah, of course, come on over.
They're just people, right? They're just people
Yeah.
that you're calling. The only thing is that like the biggest key point, I'm gonna keep saying this, it's like a broken record is, and I feel like this could change the game in the real estate environment. If you understand that like you need to not be you're not in a battle with them. You're not trying to convince them to list a house. If that's the route you're going, or you're upset that they're doing it on their own, that's gonna crush your conversion rates. So anyway, we did the call and just, it was a normal conversation. I was actually qualifying them more than they're qualifying me. And they check our boxes. If that call went pretty much, if you just kind of did the basic points there, they're at the end of it, they just want to sell their house. They're excited for anybody to come look at it. If you're just like a normal person conversationally, they're going to say yes. And a lot of times I would go over there even after the call, like 9 o'clock in the morning, which is even better because now I'm one of the first agents in front of them, right? So the biggest key to this is you want to be one of the first to the table because they're not annoyed with a million agent calls for 3 weeks. And then you call them on day 20. You're calling them like every day I would come in. I had Red X at the time and I would just refresh anything that came on like in the last 10 hours. I was literally, if not the first, one of the first that was calling them.
What sites are you going to?
You can go to Zillow. Yeah. So like today, I mean, there's probably, I don't know, in the whole KC Metro, like 40-minute drive in any direction, there's probably like 115 or something for sale by owners like on the market right now. And that's anything that's been on the market for like an entire year or like just came on an hour ago.
Do they still have the make me move button too?
I don't think they have to make me move. There used to be a blue button. That was kind of like and they were pretty much like a version of a for sale by owner because they had to go in there and make themselves a make me move. That's like, well, you're basically a for sale by owner, but they don't have make me move anymore. But I just looked at it this morning because I haven't looked at this section of Zillow. Zillow screwed their stuff up one time because they became a broker. And when they became a broker, they now can't have Zillow listings and other listings combined to follow the rules and everything. They have to segregate out what is not like Zillow real estate related and what is a for sale. So they made it even better probably for agent prospecting because you can't go in there and just see for sale by owners. You have to go in and know how to search for sale by owners inside within Zillow, right? But anyway, there's a button in there. You click on it for sale by owners. And then it brings up just the for sale by owners. But those guys are not there if you just went in and looked for houses for sale. They're separate from there. It's like other listings, right? But like Zillow almost made it better for agents when they did that. Yeah, this was back when they were gonna like take the agent out and they were going their own way and they were gonna buy everyone's house and sell it. Zillow went from being a listing platform or real estate platform to a broker. And so then they didn't know this and they got hemmed up some lawsuit where they're like, hey, you're listing stuff that you're not a broker of. And so they had to overnight like change their platform. So this stuff was segregated out and it stayed that way. I just checked it. Anyway, you've made the call, you've had a good conversation. They said, nope, we're not working with agents. We're gonna sell it ourselves. And you're gonna say, that's awesome. I'm really excited for you. It's the market's inventory is still low. I think you're gonna have no problem, right? Because what they're doing is they're throwing up roadblocks. They want off the phone with you. They're saying things to get off the phone with you. You need to not take the bait. Don't take the bait when they say they're gonna sell it themselves. You say, that's awesome. Like I support you. And they're like, whoa, this guy's different. Okay. That's literally what they're gonna think. They're going to be like, oh, okay. And that's what you want. Everyone's trying to figure out what's the magical answer to calling lead gen prospects that they know other agents are calling. They want to stand out in that conversation. You stand out by supporting them. So that's the phone call. You're just agreeing to everything they're saying and you're supportive to everything they're saying. They might say, we don't want to use agents at all. That's great. I don't think you're going to need to. The market's pretty strong. Because all you want to do, like I said, point of the phone call is to get in front of them. Because when you go and you're standing in their kitchen and now you're a for sale by owner and I'm standing in your kitchen talking to you about your house and you maybe walking me through it and we've been talking about stuff and how long you've lived there and this was the kid that your child grew up in the room, right? And we're developing rapport. Now I'm a person. On the phone I was not a person. Now I'm another human being, right? And we're now building a relationship. We're making eye contact. Okay. And now there's more of a mutual respect within this conversation and they're going to treat you that way. And they're going to like, the conversation is going to resonate better because they're not just going to like tell you to pound sand now. You're standing in your kitchen and it's very emotional for them. Like I said, they're excited, they're selling their house. It's an emotional thing. And you so far have cheerleaded for them. So you're very quickly like on their team, right? You broke all these walls down. If you did the phone call right. So now as you're in their house, I still am not like beating down the door for the listing because it's just not the time, right? This is somebody you've been, if I'm going to use a dating analogy, somebody you've been really interested in, and they just broke up last night. It was like throwing stuff at the wall, like a bad breakup. All right. You don't call them the next morning and say, will you go out with me?
Yeah.
It's not the time. It will come. You need to let this, like, they need to experience the pain of selling the house by themselves. Okay. They don't need you hammering them on phone calls, showing up at their house, telling them can't do it.
All
They
you're
still
doing-
think they're right. They still think.
They do.
"Oh, I'm gonna sell it on my own."
And
And you're actually stealing their
yeah,
resoluteness.
yeah. And you know what? Like, well, we don't know anything about them. Maybe they're like a super solid, very successful salesperson. And they very passionate about real estate and they did a lot of diligence. I don't know. Maybe they actually do a good job at it. I don't know. And it doesn't matter. It's just not a conversation I'm going to entertain. And like, you are messing this up if you do anything other than like how I'm describing it, because you're putting up roadblocks, which is your main goal of building a relationship, which isn't going to happen if you show up and tell them how awesome it is being a Democrat and they're a Republican, right? This is not going to happen. Okay, so once again, you're in your house and it's like, what are you talking to them about? Well, you're listening to them. You're listening. If you're having a good conversation with this person, you're doing more listening than talking. Okay. And if you read into developing rapport and getting people to like you, that conversation is going to be them talking more than you talking about yourself so much to them, right? People think the conversation went well. When they walk away from a conversation and they're in their head, they're going, that went pretty well. It's because they did most of the talking. Okay. And the other person's going, the hell was that? Right. And they're walking, man, this went really well. This went really well. I like that person. The other person's going, who the hell was that guy? Right. That you need to think about this. So
When you're in the house, you're just like.
you need to be not talking.
I just kind of preview your house, can you show your house.
Yeah,
So, 'cause
yeah. And I winged all this stuff. This is the part of it that I just kind of like, this is where like you as a person are kind of, it's like you're going to be who you are, but I would do less talking. I would be thinking in the back of my head, like scorecarding it. Am I talking more than they're talking? If that is a yes, you're probably doing it wrong. Unless they're asking you very open-ended questions and you can tell they're very interested in like, what should I do about this? What do you think about this? If it's that type of stuff, then sure.
Can I offer a thought? They're telling you how to sell them on you being their agent if you were actually listening.
Sure.
And there used to be when I was a new coach back in 18, I subscribed to, I can't remember what it was, but it was only a phone call thing. And I loved it because at the end of every call, it would tell me how much I talked and how much my client talked.
Oh, wow.
And
That's cool.
whenever I would see it 50% or above, I'd be like, that was a horrible call. Like when I was talking 50% or above.
Yeah.
I want it down around 20 to 25%.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they'll tell you how to list them and you just listen.
Mhm. Yeah. So you're in their living room or kitchen or whatever. You've been walking, the first thing I would do is I'd show up and they'd be kind of like, they're going to be looking for you to kind of take the lead on like what happens when someone shows up at my house for this. And so I would just walk in, I would always take my shoes off, the normal stuff that you're trying to do to like impress somebody, right? You're trying to look respectful, whether you are or not, I guess. I mean, I generally think of myself as respectful, but you're taking your shoes off, or I would just ask. A lot of times I would ask. That might even be a better route of like, because these are the types of things you'll be thinking yourself when you're showing up, even if you've kind of like practiced. It's like you're going to open the door. You're now having this interaction with a different person, and you're going to be kind of like, do I take my shoes off? Do I not? Like, I don't know. This house is kind of dirty. I don't want to take my shoes off, right? I mean, so it's a dance. It's a dance like any other relationship. So what I started doing is I would just walk in, I'm like, hey, would you like me to take my shoes off? And they'll be like, no, leave them on, leave them on. Okay, perfect. Or whatever. I wouldn't bring a lot of stuff.
You don't bring like a little packet.
I would, so in the beginning I didn't because I just hadn't put the effort into like creating any of that stuff. And then this group that I kind of became a part of, which I'm still a part of today, I was like grandfathered in. But I think it's like $10,000 to sign up for this now. He grew it. He's Brandon Mulrennan. If you look him up, you might have heard of his name. Mulren. So, yeah, what he did is like when I started getting into for sale by owners, how I came across him. Another side note here. I just started YouTubing a lot of stuff on how do you talk to for sale by owners, and there was a lot of like random, normal, been in the business a long time, like how do you talk to for sale by owners, type stuff, and they were all kind of the same, right? Provide value, show them how awesome you are, like you need to pursue them hard and whatever. And then Brandon Mulrennan was very different. He was like, no, you need to stop doing all that. And then what I liked about him the most is I was trying to understand, like, how do you talk on the phone? And he did a bunch of YouTube calls where it was the camera of him literally going through his entire 25 minutes of calling for sale by owners, and it was all recorded. So you could listen on speaker, like you could hear both sides of the conversation and how he went through the script just over and over and over again. And then I got where like my wife would even talk about it. I started watching his videos on repeat. I'd be up at 4 o'clock in the morning watching it for like the 5th time. I didn't have the script or anything because it wasn't in his program. I was like writing down the questions he was asking, and I got obsessive about it.
Can we do a role play now?
Oh man.
We'll be the seller.
Oh man. Like I said, I haven't done this in a couple of years.
Well, I mean, neither have they.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I'll have to be the seller.
I'll have to go off my script. I don't have it memorized anymore, but
That's all right.
do you want to be the seller?
I'll be the seller.
I think Megan would be a good seller.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay.
It's nice to be the seller.
Well, no.
It's that.
No, like,
That's for kids.
but once again, this is like a real person, right? It's just they're a good representation of just like another person out in the universe. And I think you're probably a better person than Chris, because people that would, if this is a role play where it's like the whole purpose of the role play is somebody putting up roadblocks, I just would end the call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I was saying in the beginning. Is like, yeah, we're not objective handling here. This is not objection handling. Okay. If that is the way the conversation's going, objection handling is ending the call, right? They're not people we're pursuing. Yeah, like that's, and once you kind of understand that, it takes a while. Oh man, speak of the devil. I wasn't talking about you, but back when I was doing this, I lead script practice with Susie Townley in the mornings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's hardcore.
Oh.
You gotta show up with your game face on. Okay,
I don't have a good game face.
all right, no, it's good.
Okay,
This is great. So just be yourself. You were selling your house, and we'll just go through the bullet points here.
Okay.
All right. So hi, this is Thomas. I'm a local realtor. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Hey, great. Calling about your house listed for sale. Is it still available, or have you accepted an offer?
Nope, just put it on last night.
Oh, awesome. So you're selling it yourself, right? You're for sale by owner?
Yep,
Okay, good. That's great. Well, good luck with that.
thank you.
Are you interested in working with an agent if they brought you a qualified buyer?
Are you saying you have a qualified buyer?
We do not currently have a qualified buyer, but I'm just curious if you're interested in working with agents that do have them.
Yes, I would be interested.
Okay, sure, yeah. How long are you going to sell it on your own before you entertain other options?
We have not got that far ahead into the process, actually.
Okay, sure. So maybe like 30 days from now, something like that.
I mean, my neighbor had her house for sale and she was able to get it sold within 2 weeks. I don't think it's gonna last that long.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. The market's pretty good. You've probably heard a lot of details out there about the inventory being low. So I think you're gonna have probably a pretty good chance of selling it.
I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely. Hey, also, for whatever reason, Megan, you can't sell it on your own. Do you have an agent you feel obligated to work with, or would you be open to interviewing other agents at that time?
I mean, I guess if it was still in the market, I would go ahead and look into possibly doing that. But if it's not selling within 30 days, I don't know if it would be great to keep it on the market.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, great. Well, hey, Megan, it's been great talking with you. Hey, would it be all right if I stop by sometime later this afternoon? I would love to just see the house.
What would the point of you seeing the house? How would that benefit me if you don't have a qualified buyer?
Well, a couple times a week, I like to preview homes. We do this with homes that are on the market currently, that are vacant, or, someone has an agent representing them. I also like to call up all the for sale by owners that have also come on the market. This is very routine for me. I do a lot of walkthroughs, previews. This gives me a great perspective of the market, kind of boots on the ground, heartbeat of the market and the inventory. I also can take that back to our buyers, talk to them about it. As I'm previewing stuff, I can kind of see for them, feel out, is this something that's going to work for them? And it also kind of helps me stay involved with the heartbeat of the market.
Interesting. Okay, if you come before I have to go pick up my kids, that'd be fine.
So that would basically be how it would go. And sometimes, depending on what they say, I would ship that around,
Good job, guys.
but,
Thank you guys.
and I haven't done that in 2-3 years,
Oh,
but
definitely.
what I'm doing is I'm championing this for sale by owner. I'm not giving, like I said, we're not objection handling on this conversation. It's all about, I was a lot more smooth with it several years ago, but, as she's throwing up stuff about, whatever's going on, I'm not telling her she's dumb for listing it herself. I'm just trying to get in front of her at her house, right? Not selling the house on the phone. I'm trying to get an appointment. So I'm agreeing with things she's saying. Doesn't matter if I agree or not. I'm just having a conversation that's not like trying to overcome. It's not a battle of the wits is probably the best thing I'm trying to say. You're not trying to think of like witty things to
Don't
say.
sell on the phone.
Yeah, you're just getting an appointment.
Where we started this for.
Yeah. So we're doing that. If they don't want to use agents, that's great. You don't think you're gonna need to, the market's hot. When can I come over? Right? That's all it is. So you're at their house. You're walking through it, they're gonna show it to you, and then you're in their living room, kitchen. And then what I would always do, one thing I would bring to answer your question, in the beginning, I didn't take marketing material. What I would always, and this is another reason why I think for sale by owners is so great for new agents, is I would bring like a market analysis. And I would have thoroughly gone through that of like, how does this, comp out, et cetera. And then I would talk with them about that. I would walk them through it. And then I would write the days on market next to it. And I would talk about that. I would make little side notes. And so because that's at the end of the day too, they kind of put this on the market, everyone knows of the Zestimate, but they kind of want to know, probably the one thing they're most interested in with talking with you is what your opinion of the value of the home is.
Tom, you could throw in there and be like, and here's your price. So the market says, yeah, you're right in line, but since you are a first sale by owner, we know that your house should be 10 to 15% less. So let's go ahead and knock it down.
I mean, sure, but once again, that's like, you're just, you're throwing fuel on the fire. You're trying to put the fire out. So I wouldn't.
If somebody is overpriced, how do you handle it? Like significantly overpriced, which is not uncommon with a for sale by owner.
Well, so how I would normally do this and how Brandon Mulrennan kind of taught it was like, hey, at this point, you really haven't gotten anything. You're trying to build a relationship. The one thing they want most is the price. He always was kind of like, don't give him a price, right? And so we would talk through the comps and I would tell them stuff about the other ones. I didn't have pictures of them, but I would leave it with them. But I would not actually give them a price of the house.
The realtor.
Right. I would just talk about like, well, all right, so yours has 3 beds, there's not a lot of 3 beds around here, but here's a 4 bed and it's sold for this, here's this. And as they're looking at all of that, they're kind of in their own heads stacking the ranking. And then I would just kind of like, at the end of it, if they kind of try to pin me down, if they keep kind of going like, all right, okay, but what do you think it's worth? I would say, I think you're in the ballpark. Right? I don't know. Like, what do you want me to say to you, dude? I just met you, right? So, I mean, I'm not, it's like I said, it's not this like, you have to come at it with a just humble, relaxed, like it's not if you're coming into it like it's a battle, that you're
It's going to be a battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it's gonna, you're gonna create a battle. What I'm saying is you need to come in with your guard down, right? You're just having a conversation. You're winning by, if you leave and you feel like they talked more and you can kind of feel like they were receptive to it. And like my plan then was that like now I've built a relationship with you, right? We've had coffee for the first time and I'm gonna start calling you over the next few days to try and get you to go on another date with me, right?
So how often are you following up with them after that initial meeting?
It's just kind of a great segue question. I had a whole, like I said, this was like 10% of the whole thing. To most people, I feel like this is 100% of the process. At this point, even after meeting them at their house, that was like 15% of the whole FSBO process, right? It's like just getting started, where other agents are kind of like already tapped out. They don't really know or do anything past this. This is kind of where like the whole point of the phone call and meeting in person was we're building a relationship. Phone call was to have an appointment. Appointment was to build a relationship, right? You're not even building a relationship on the phone because they don't know you. That's like kind of hard to do. Building a relationship by talking and that eye contact thing I was talking about, listening to them. A lot of them will probably go off on something or why they're selling and whatever life events going on. They're really excited about going to Florida and whatever. And you're just, that's super cool. Wow. Okay. What's in Florida? Right. You might not even talk about the house a lot. That's probably a good thing. And then all of that, you kind of comp their house. And the point of the market analysis was not to dangle this, golden egg in front of them that they can't quite get to because I'm not going to give them the price. That was not the point of that. My point was to be able to demonstrate. It's a quick way to kind of be like, you're selling your house. I'm going to bring this over and I have comps and walk you through this analysis that I have. It's like a super secret thing. And I'm going through the comps. It's a way for me to illustrate my understanding of the real estate market. And you're kind of like, I'm showing you that I'm a real estate expert. Okay, if you do it right.
It's like, here, I'm giving you some information.
Yeah, and it's not even that you're like, hey, here's this, like the report doesn't really matter. I didn't like this, that's why.
What would your trainer have said, like if responding to the pricing question, saying, hey, listen, I just came over to see the house today, but that's kind of my value as a real estate agent.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way you want to go.
You're gonna get serious about hiring a real estate agent. If it doesn't sell, then we can talk about that.
100, that's actually thinking back, I think that was more so even what he did. It's like, hey, this is yeah, I don't know. I think you're in the ballpark. Hey, if this comes further down the road, 30 days, like you said on the phone, you're not interested in selling it on your own. We have another phone call. You end up wanting to list it. We're going to fine tune this a lot more, especially now that I've seen the house. We'll be able to look at this a lot and we'll get updated comps, right? It would be very much like that. But you're very much like hearing them out. You're not selling them. You're cheerleading them. You're still there in their house, cheerleading them to sell their house on their own. And then I would use that market analysis more so as like, hey, here's a quick little piece of paper that I can now talk around with these comps. And in that conversation about the value of what homes have been selling for and how long they've been on the market, and like we start talking to them about days on market. There's just so many nuggets in here. You can use that. Like days on market is huge too for sale by owner because now you can talk about the clock starting, right? Like, yeah, when you look on Zillow every day, it's gonna be on the market longer. As time goes on, you're losing your leverage, right? Everyone knows, like, seller, put yourself in a buyer's shoes. And you're working with me and we're looking at houses every day. And then you send me this one and it's been on the market for 45 days. And you say, can you look at this? What's wrong with it? Why hasn't it sold? Right? I want you to think about that your clock has started because you put it on online, right? As time goes on, you're losing that leverage because when someone puts an offer on a house been on the market for 1 hour or 1 day versus a house been on the market for 45 days, usually the conversation with the 45-day house is, I don't know, it's been on the market for a while. Let's come in 20,000 under and just see what they say, right? That's kind of where your headspace is at. Now, if it's been on the market for one day and it is a good house, it presents well, and you're interested in it, you're thinking a lot of other people must be interested in it. We better give them our best offer right now. So you can see how over time you start to lose that leverage. These are just little nuggets you can talk about.
So you're telling that?
Yeah, 100%. That's a huge little subconscious thing. You just, like threw a bomb in their head and they're going like, shit, I got to sell this fast or I need to get going with an agent.
So you are like, you're being demure, but you're also breadcrumbing rather than assaulting them with the listing agreement.
Yeah. I'm like kind of holding their hand. I was telling you when we were talking earlier this morning. This is your uncle 2 states over, right? You're not even licensed in that state. You may not even know the full rules and regulations of over there. And every week he's selling his house. And every week he calls you and he's like, "Hey Megan, so this guy came over and he talked to me about it in my house last night. And I can't really tell if he's interested in it or not. What should I be?" You know what I mean? Like that's what you want to be for them. If you're doing this right, they're going to start calling you throughout this process. One of the best ones I had was the second one that I listed. Was it the second one? Maybe it was the first one. I can't remember if it's first or second. Doesn't matter. Well, I mean, there's 2 examples I could give. The best one I had, I went over there, I talked with her, and her niece is in the kitchen there too. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm a Reese Nichols agent." Okay. So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So my first walkthrough with this house with the seller's niece is standing there as a Reese Nichols licensed agent. Okay. And I'm doing all my stuff. And I was a newer agent. So in my mind, I'm like, "Oh shit," right? Now I'm like being monitored. Right? And I'm kind of pulling all this out of my ass. I'm just, it's like my first couple of times. It's like one of my first ones. I went through all my stuff and I had my market analysis, and I felt with my prior experience in investment stuff and that I used to be work for an appraiser shop for large downtown, 40-story building type stuff. So when it comes to discussing appraisal values and valuing comps and stuff, I feel confident in that sense. But still, I was just kind of like, I don't know how people do this. Anyway, we get done with all of that, and she's like, I started talking to her too. I'm like, "You're Reese Nichols, really? Why is this a for sale by owner then?" Right? Like I'm trying to open this conversation up. And they were fun. They were good conversationalists. And she was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really done much. I'm trying to get her to let me sell it. We'll see." It's like, okay. In my head, right? Never pre-qualify anyone. I'm thinking, well, this is out because this is like the one question. Maybe I didn't ask it right or something. She didn't tell me. Well, it's because she probably didn't. Wasn't going to use her. But I'm starting to forget kind of how it all went. At the end of it all, though, I said, I somehow wrapped this back around, and I was like, "Okay, well, it sounds like you're trying to get back into real estate. What you should do is you should stop in our office and come and check out Keller Williams." Okay. When this was all done, I ended up selling this house, and she was in my downline.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you can't pre-qualify people. You may remember her, Brianna Bohannon. I don't know. She lives in Florida. I don't even think she's a realtor anymore.
So we got about 2 or 3 minutes to wrap this up, so we'll get ready for team meeting.
Sure.
What's the closing thought you want to give to somebody who's considering working with for sale by owners?
Yeah, I think the best way to sum it up is you need to think of them as like your uncle 2 states over, and he's calling you from time to time wanting advice. And you're like, that is like the attitude you're embodying, right? And in the beginning. And then I will real quick, because I did talk a lot about the call and the meeting in person, and there's a lot to that along with the mindset leading up to all of this. So I mean, that is a big thing to unpackage. But I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Susanna.
Susanna, that's right. I knew you were on Chuck's team, but you asked me a question of what do you do after that?
Yeah.
Right? I would have note cards in my car with stamped envelopes and everything. And I would write them a thank you note, and I would put a $1 scratch ticket in there. And then on my way back, I would just throw it in like the post office mailbox or something like that. Okay. That kind of starts that timeline of they're going to be getting it in the mail here soon, the next couple of days. So then they're going to get a note card after all of this, which you've already kind of stood out because you're not beating them over the head, telling them they're dumb for listing. You have been in their corner. You've built a relationship with them, which is what every other agent is trying to do. And now you just sent them a thank you card and a $1 scratch ticket. That stuff's going to stand out. A lot of people are not going to do this.
Do you say something to reference the $1 like you?
No. Yeah, I might throw some cheesy line like, "Hey, good luck on the here's a $1 scratch ticket. Good luck on selling your house, or I don't know, whatever. But I had a whole thing like I used to do a couple years ago. I'm starting to get, I'm blurry on some of it now, but so you do that, and then I would just throw them into my little FSBO follow-up plan, right? So every Monday, I would go through those calls and call the new ones, just as I would every morning. And so Monday morning was like any other day, I would call the new FSBOs on the market. So you're one of the first to call them. Because like I said, you call a FSBO on day 30 and it's your first call. They already been down this road. They don't want to talk with agents anymore. They're annoyed with agent calls. You call them on day one, they want to talk to you. Okay. That's a big, big difference. That's your little window of time on like building a relationship because they're going to be much more open. I would throw them into my schedule. So every Monday, like I said, I would make my normal lead prospect lead gen calls for the FSBOs. And then I would circle back through all the ones I'm following up with. And I would just call them. Hey, how'd the weekend go? Did you see the email that I sent you, which I'll talk about in a second? Whatever, right? You're just talking, you're just following up. Probably most of the time, they're just not going to answer because they know why you're calling. So they're just, but you're calling. And so you're staying top of mind. Tuesday, I would write them another handwritten card. So every Tuesday, I would write them all another card and put it in the mail and just say, it would be something small. Just say, good luck on everything. Maybe try thinking about this. I'm literally just telling them things to even try selling their house. Wednesday, I had them on a drip campaign in the MLS. So I would get their phone number, email, and then I would put them on a drip campaign in the MLS with all the active, pending, and solds so they could see the market data around their house. It also gives me a lot to talk about when I call them. Did you see this? Have you looked at this? Hey, that one house sold. Did you see that? Did you see the other one that just came up a block away? That's on the market now, right? Thursday, I think I had something random on Facebook where I somehow did like a small paid marketing for like the FSBO characteristic. Like in the behavior analytics, you can put certain things like dog lover and stuff. I think I had one like, I don't know if they saw it or not, but it was what I did. And then Friday, I think I just texted them, good luck on the weekend, whatever, right? And then Monday would come around, I would call them again. And it got so repetitive. But and this is the largest conclusion. I know I'm trying not to go too long, but I kind of did. The FSBO lifespan, this might help you guys understand the biggest concept of what I'm trying to express to you is as time goes on in a FSBO's life, a bunch of agents are calling them in the beginning. As time goes on, less and less and less agents are calling them, at least less and less of the ones they were talking to on day one. So there's not a lot of people building a relationship with them. But if you did it right and you built a really good relationship in the beginning, and when you call them, they're going to know who you are. As time goes on, that pain of trying to sell the house on their own is going up. It's probably, if it hasn't happened, it's just going to keep being this annoying thing hanging out there. A lot of them have timelines, they're trying to go somewhere, they're trying to do stuff. Their life's not just in a void sitting there, like they're trying to move on with their life for whatever reason. Let that happen. Let that pain do its work while you maintain a good, strong relationship with them. And towards the end, they will most likely call you. Eventually, they're going to just call you. It's not going to be one of your calls to them. They're just going to call you and they're going to say, will you list my house? I'm ready.
Sick of this.
I'm tired of it.
Just get over it.
And you're gonna
We're gonna go, if I'm in the middle of dinner, I'll be there in 5 minutes.
you're gonna know it's getting close to, or you're gonna know you're on the right track because most likely, if you've been doing this right, they're gonna be communicating with you throughout this process. Number one, asking for advice because now they trust you. Trust has been built and they respect you as an agent because you exemplified your real estate expertise. And when they're reaching out, they're going to be telling you about the other dumb agents that are calling. And oh my God, this guy called me and he just keeps saying this. And I told him I already have somebody. If I'm going to be, like now you're the somebody.
We're gonna shut it down now.
So-
Everybody give Tom a